there questions, would you be the runner with the microphone? This is Paul.
Hi, Paul.
He is the chair of our call
Oh,
committee.
wonderful. It's wonderful.
Paul Ledwig. Yeah, just in case there are questions, because
There will be, actually. I'm going to ask for ideas, comments at the beginning. So.
Yep.
yeah, otherwise they won't hear anything online.
Yep.
So,
Happy to do that.
There we go. It's quite a difference. Let me know if I'm too loud, right? Again, I'm Bishop Ann Svenningsson, and this is one of the best things I get to do in my call as a bishop. I love coming to congregations to have a conversation like this, to be with communities at this very kind of liminal space, this transition time as you're preparing to say farewell to a really wonderful pastor and looking to call a new one. And I really appreciate all that you've done so far with the transition team and putting together the ministry site profile. They were nice to just give you a 3-page summary. I guess it's 4 pages, because they had to work on 14 pages, and you wouldn't want to read every page in what they wrote, but it's good stuff. So, before we get started, who was on the transition team? Are any of you here that were on that? Okay. So you can ask them all your questions if you have any. And then, who are your call committee members? Okay. Wow, are you all here?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, I'm so impressed. That's very, very good. And it's like 9 people?
Yes.
Great, perfect. Yeah, good. Have any of you ever served on a call committee before? You have? Yeah. Here? But another congregation, yeah. So you're the sort of continuity between the transition team to the call committee. Is anybody on the call committee also on the church council? So there's connections there. Good. You've got things really well organized. Okay, so I've read really carefully the ministry site profile, which is sort of the description of your congregation right now, and some of the challenges and things that are happening in the congregation and in the larger community. But I like to spend the first 10, 15 minutes hearing from you about why you love this congregation. Just sort of imagine that I'm someone that you really want to come and be your pastor, and you want to tell me all the reasons why this would be a great place to be a pastor. We call this sort of affirmative inquiry, sort of saying all of the assets, and can read it on paper, but I get a much more vivid picture if we share some things. So Paul, your chair of the call committee, is going to assume his leadership role quickly here. And we use the microphone just because it's really the best for including everybody in the conversation.
And I think they are streaming it also, so this will help.
Oh, hello, streamers.
Yes.
Is that even a word? Anyway. All right. And if we can't come with, a dozen of these things, then I will just leave and we'll say we have a big problem here. But so.
I'm Jennifer Grant, and I've been a member here like 17 years, 16 years. And I would say the number one is we're super welcoming church to all different types of people, all kinds. And I hope this is how people, when they come visit, they get a welcoming feeling. People are very nice. They greet them. We're a small town. And we have a lot of based, not just coming to church, but activities that we're part of. And there's a lot of people that are close and a lot of connection between everybody, which it's like a family.
Yeah.
So it's...
When other congregations sort of are aspiring to be super welcoming, are there like commitments that you make as a congregation that you have sort of said, this will help us be more welcoming?
Well, I think one thing is when we have new members, I think we're still doing this. We had mentors still, okay, well, we used to do mentors, but just welcoming them and making them feel special, flowers, name tags, and then we have a breakfast afterwards for them. And I think people really go out of their way to talk to them, you know, when they come. And even before, I feel like people visit and stuff, and everybody is very welcoming to them. You know, I think, you know, saying a lot during our peacetime and welcoming people, that's really important.
I noticed that during the peace, that people were very, outgoing.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you can see, people kind of cross the aisles and, you know, and I don't think that always happens. I mean, I visit other churches and stuff, so I just really feel like we're very welcoming, so.
Great, that's helpful, thank you.
And I was just going to say one more thing, and of course, Pastor Bruce is amazing, so.
That's true.
I would just add on to what Jennifer's saying. I think it starts even before people get here on our website. The all are welcome paragraph or statement that we have is phenomenal. And that's what I tell people when they're looking for a church. Go to our website and read it because it says it there better than what I can tell you. So I think that draws a lot of people in, just the inclusivity that we convey to the community.
That appeared in your ministry site profile more than any others that I've read, where you say, go to our website and read this, go to our website and read this, which is, I think, good. I mean, of course, I'm hoping every candidate who reads this MSP will be looking at your website, but just that encouragement, and that people say your website is your front door to who you are. So you can say one more.
Sorry, I just wanted to...
sorry, that was so incredibly loud.
It's
Holy
just based on what Lisa said. A fun fact is, actually, we just ordered a welcome sign that is going to be put up in the narthex that will say the welcome statement. So that's why I had to just say that, because you brought that up, and I'm like, that's so cool, because it's going to be installed hopefully in the next week or two.
Does anybody know it by heart? Oh, okay. We're at 2 speakers. There we go.
Hi, I'm Janine Holter. I've been a member here since 2006, I think. And I really enjoy the diversity of music that we have and the openness to try different things and not, you know, I like the old stuff, but I really like the opportunities to broaden our horizon music-wise. So.
Yeah. Wow. That's wonderful. I felt that today. I mean, it's just Yep.
I like the diversity in ages that we have. We were members when we were over in Rockford, so we've been members for a long time, so we've seen lots and lots of changes. But the fact that we have 80-some kids signed up for our Christmas program next Sunday, and we're worried about having enough parking, I just think is such a wonderful statement to how involved our young people are and our young families are, and how important that is to the growth and the stability of a church.
Yeah. No, it's really pretty diverse, but don't reflect the diversity in the ELCA, in that you have very few people over 65, which is interesting. I mean, let me look at those numbers as I see it, compared to other congregations. That's what I should say. At least what you described in this piece was 35% are 19 and under, 20% are 20 to 34, 20% are 35 to 49, 20% are 50 to 65, and 5% are over 65. Maybe some of you aren't being completely honest. Right. that's good. Okay.
Yeah, I just have a comment on that too. So that, when we did this a while back, that was kind of my concern, because although I honor and respect and am happy that we're getting lots of young families and young children here, as I approach the older section of that profile, I kind of have felt like, don't forget about the older people in our congregation and some of the things that can be done for them. But what I will say is, just recently I've seen more activities and things that have focused on folks like myself and older, and so I appreciate that. And I just don't want to forget, even though our population may be smaller, let's not forget about the
Sure.
people who've been here a long time. And anyhow, that's.
Great.
Hi, everyone. My name's Adam Wirtz. I think I've been a member 16, 17 years. Two things stick out for me regarding Pastor Bruce and, a previous pastor. The Gospels, the educational sessions, we're not afraid to talk about the issues and talk about things, everything from science and how that relates to God.
Right.
So I've always really enjoyed that. And secondly, my kids now are getting older, and to see them not only go through the youth, but now get involved in mission trips and stuff, that's just super connecting and cool.
I just was really marveled at the trip to Belize, and that there were 35 people that went, and yeah, just lots of good things. You know, I think I've done, I don't know how many of these, probably 40. You're the first minister site profile that talks about being connected to the ELCA because we read the social statements. And I'm like, I mean, that's those kinds of forums, if you're talking about the social statements, which I think are an incredible treasure trove of the ELCA, because part of it is we have, 26 ELCA colleges with people from all kinds of disciplines who, if it's faith and science, or if we want to talk about genetics, or if we want to talk about, just pretty much all kinds of issues that we confront. These statements are so centered in our Lutheran understanding of what we call law and gospel, Lutheran understanding, and yet engage what's happening in 2023. So I really appreciate that's. So when you're talking about your prior pastor, that's Pastor Lee Hallstrom. So tell me just real quickly, who came before Pastor Hallstrom? Who was before? What's been sort of your tenure of pastors? You started in 1985, is that right? Pardon?
Yeah, Emmanuel Johnson was here first, then Jim Parks, and then Pastor Speetzen, yeah. And then it kind of gets confusing to me. We have the mugshots on the wall here, so we can look at it later. But Pastor Lee came, I think, around 2000, and then was here until about 2014, and then we came in 2016.
Who was your interim during that?
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris Hagan. Is that his last name?
Chris Hagan.
Yeah.
How'd that go? It was okay? Okay. You didn't fire him or anything? Okay. It's a difficult time in the church. It is. And yeah, interns are, if they get like a C+ ranking, we're really pretty happy. It's just such a hard thing, and there's so many things going on. But anyway, and so I shouldn't have said that. Some of our interns get A+ rankings, but it's just such a mix of things and such a short time to be trying to move the congregation to the next place. But I always tell people, if it takes a little longer and you get a really good pastor at the end of it, it's worth every second. And that's what happened here. So Praise God. Okay, thank you. That was helpful for me. Others can take a few more. Yes, down here.
I'm Lisa Kraus, and one of the things I like the best is that our kids can be kids. We've got a lot going on for them, but they are part of the services. They have fun being here. We have an area for the little ones up front,
right,
to play. A really good kids program after school for all ages. Right, we have all ages.
After school is a church program?
We have.
On Wednesdays, okay.
Wednesdays, yeah. Yeah, and the church meets them at school in Delano and brings them here.
Huh.
So it makes it convenient.
The bus brings them here? Huh. Yeah? Do you have to pay for that, or is that the school system provides that?
Yes, they provide an extra bus for us.
Sorry. You might have to come a little closer, Bruce.
All
I know
right.
you're trying to be out of it.
I was trying to, be a wallflower, but
Yeah, right.
obviously it's not succeeding.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, LaDonna leads that, and we get about 35 first, second, third graders right after school, and we get one of the buses to come and bring us over. It's about a half a mile. And then we get about the same number, fourth, fifth, and sixth graders between 5 and 6, and then we have about 50 to 60 7th, 8th, and 9th graders for confirmation. So, and that's every Wednesday, school's in session.
Right.
So
that's really a great.
Yeah. Right, sitting in the back like all my members. Yes. Sorry.
What I just it's an amazing story of these different groups and how many kids are coming. But I also am just kind of amazed that the school system is willing to partner with you on this. This is not happening in the many parts of the world, right? Well, Delano, I think there's probably some other communities for whom it's possible too.
Connection with school.
Yeah.
We also have Kids Hope that partners with the school, and I believe that we are building a good relationship with our school system, and that's something that's fairly new, but I believe very important.
Yep.
And that, yes.
What does Kids Hope do?
Kids Hope, you have to learn about that. Talk to me after, I will fill you in.
Is it a bigger program than just
It
Delano?
is, yeah.
Okay.
It partners schools, one school, one church.
Okay.
Partners together. The church finds mentors to
Great.
meet with kids for 1 hour, 1 day a week through the school year. And it just gives the kids that are a part of it an opportunity to make a relationship with somebody, and it's been going on for many years, and they've shown that grades improve, and it really helps with the esteem of the children, and it's a fabulous program.
No, I think that I didn't know there was a specific organization. I know lots of congregations do lots of partnering with schools, but I didn't know about this particular organization. Yep.
To tag on to the youth work, I think just across the board we have a lot of great volunteers, a lot of great committees that push forward a lot of work and allow us to be so active in the community and the other programs that we have going on within the church. And then to take on to that, Pastor Bruce being so engaged in all of them. He's at the meetings, he's with the kids, he's a point of continuity, but definitely it's always great to see him there and see how much he cares about all the little things that happen in the church as well as all the big things. And so that has been really, I think, motivating to keep, because you feel like the work that you're doing matters as a volunteer, and that's being seen.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to have a really thriving children and youth ministry unless your lead pastor is also really engaged in some way. Not every way, not in charge of everything, but engaged and supportive of it, because there's some budgetary issues too that are affected. Okay, a couple more. Ray?
Sorry.
You good?
I would say that we're increasingly good at self-learning. I think that we've spent some good deliberate time in kind of getting to know how the Holy Spirit is working here and through us, what that means, and working to translate that into kind of greater clarity around our mission and our ministry.
Yeah.
And so really trying to, I think, better and better taking the guesswork out of, kind of what we're doing, or doing things in a general sort of a way, and being increasingly, kind of clear and specific, and creating language around that.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
What are practices that have helped you do that? Sorry. What are the practices that have helped you be intentional about that self-learning?
Tim was a little shy, but we also have a Nourishing Hope program that Pastor referred to during our service of packing boxes. And I believe that this last couple weeks you gave out like 90 boxes to the community of food. That's like once a month of food
It's not
items.
part of Feed My Starving Children. It's your own program.
No.
Good.
And then we have a number of people who are involved in the food shelf too, and providing for that.
Yeah, and engaging in the community is a huge piece in as people think about congregations thriving in the 21st century, if they're not engaged with their neighborhoods, that's going to be a huge detriment. And so not engaged as in you're knocking on the doors and saying, come to my church or believe in Jesus or you're going to hell or something, but engaged in all of the ways that we love our neighbor as ourselves and reflect the love of Christ, and people see that and experience that and may join us, may not, but that engagement with the community is out of love is really important. But the practices.
Right. I would say that a lot of that grew out of the pandemic and the impact that had on our congregation as everything shifted. I mean, we had I don't remember how long it was that we weren't physically here, we were online. And so as we kind of found our way out of that, we very deliberately began simply to create some mechanisms by which we had conversation. And so we had table talks, and we had a couple of congregational surveys, and we had a couple of teams or groups that were working to kind of advance the plot and creating some language and testing out, ask the congregation for additional input on, are these things, this is what we're hearing, are these things resonant with you? And then trying to translate those into some ministry priorities and those kinds of things. So it's still a work in progress, but I would say that increasingly there's some of that is more distinctively a part of the identity here.
I just think it's that phrase, never let a good crisis go to waste. I mean, in some ways you could practice during the pandemic because nobody had answers. I mean, we're all kind of trying to find our way, and so having those kind of intentional conversations is really, really important. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Billy Chalk, and I'm on the church council and the call committee, and our family's been here since 2012. So we came here kind of the last year or so of Pastor Lee. And I just wanted to build on what Tim said. I think that the learning is a result of people willing to be involved, voice their perspective in committees, in congregational surveys, but also that comes from the top, from our pastor being open to hearing those ideas and not simply stating how things will be, but really listening and hearing the various perspectives. And certainly there'll be times when some people may be disappointed because we go a certain direction, but just taking the time to make sure that those voices are heard and then coming to a decision that is best for the congregation to move forward.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Yeah, there'll be times where you have to make a decision, like, do we start in-person worship this Sunday or some other Sunday? And not everybody will agree, but if there is a sense.
One more thing I want to tag in on about the kids. My daughter had her first communion. She was like 3. I mean, it was really important to her at 3. Mm-hmm. She wanted to do it, and here we can, as children as young as they want can. I know a lot of parishes that is not the case.
No, that's right.
So we were like 9th grade or something. So, but it is my daughter's favorite part of church. So
And that's really cool.
yeah,
Because she's not 3 anymore.
no,
Right?
she's 7, but
But the ELCA, each congregation can discern, but it's certainly all are welcome according to the ELCA understanding of worship. So, yeah.
Yeah, Mike Boyack, part of the call committee and church council here. One thing I want to call out that I think makes this very special is the overarching staff. I think that starts with Pastor Bruce.
Right.
Also goes to Terry in the office, to LaDonna, Kirsten, Katie with the music ministry. That's been a huge focus of ours over the last probably 5 or 6 years,
Right.
is making sure that we have those full-time youth, or full-time music, now full-time youth and family, and wanting to make sure that we can carry those forward.
Yeah, no, it sounds like in your ministry site profile, that was an intentional commitment and growth effort. So let's turn, unless there's another person that just wants to, has something on the tip of their tongue that needs to be said. Okay, well, let's turn to the sheet that you each received as you came in. And if you didn't, there's some, I think, back there still. And I'll try to find mine, and then we'll be in good shape. Here we go. I am going to ask us to look at the bottom half of the first page. This is a very hard task for the people who put this together, your transition team, because under each of these 3 sections, top 5 ministry tasks, top 5 ministry gifts, very helpful ministry gifts, there are about 30 choices. I have it, I found it. And so if they tries to choose any more than 5, they get the big, red X of Jeopardy or whatever. They can't go any further. So they only get to choose 5. But what kind of helps is most people kind of look at these all together. So the first are all about the ministry tasks. What are the most important ministry tasks you believe this new pastor needs to accomplish and devote time and talent to? And then what are the top 5 ministry gifts, spiritual gifts that this person brings, and also another 5 that are very helpful ministry gifts. So I'm just going to read all these, but while I read them, kind of just, if you need to close your eyes, whatever, think about what you really want to emphasize, what you think might be missing, if there's anything you want to nuance, because it's, it might be a phrase, but does she really know what we mean by that phrase? So those are the things we're going to talk about after I read through this list. Top 5 ministry tests, and the 5 aren't in any specific order. They so don't assume that the first one is the most important. They're all in each category, just in random order. Spiritual formation and direction, preaching and worship, building a sense of community, strategic mission and planning, pastoral care and visitation. Help people develop their spiritual life, be an effective teacher and preacher, build a sense of community among the people with whom he or she works, skilled in planning and leading programs, provide care and nurture. Be effective in working with youth, organize people for community action, deal effectively with conflict, be able to share leadership and work in a team, be creative and innovative about his or her tasks. Thoughts? Anything missing? Yeah?
Hi, I'm Stephen Dickey. I've served on the church council the last 3 years. One of the things that jumps out to me is building a sense of community, because in Delano it's a vastly growing community right now, and we're trying to embrace that as a part of the church. And we have not only growing as a congregation, but meeting people where they are. And also, one thing that I would add, and I'm not sure if it's an option, but focus on stewardship is also important here as well. So as we're a growing congregation, we do have goals that as a congregation we aspire to be at a certain level, and stewardship is a big part of that. So I just added that.
Yeah, I think what we're noticing in the Synod is that the first year or two of COVID, there was the PPP loan that our congregations received. This last year, there's the employment retention credit. There is nothing in the future, and so that gap that will be from 2023 to 2024 will be significant. And the question is, you've kind of staffed up to be with these other things, and so how can you keep growing? I think the fact that you give 10% to the synod and churchwide is really wonderful. And so how can you continue to lift up that theme of partnership, that we're all partners together, and that means each household is a partner with this community. And so, yes.
I would just echo what Stephen has said, and as you were reading through those, I thought to myself similarly that was an element or a facet of ministry here that didn't show up there, but not because it's not important. And I think that one of the things that we've come accustomed to here is, I think, to be able to talk together and listen together and contemplate all matters of generosity and stewardship in really a positive, constructive, engaged light. And that I think it would be a tough go for someone stepping into this setting as a leader if they weren't prepared to kind of continue helping to lead us in that journey.
Right.
So we're not afraid to talk about money, and I think it happens in a forthright way. It's not just all focused on budget. It's focused on ministry that we're accomplishing, and it's pretty integrated, but that's a pretty important feature, I think, of the ministry that's developed here,
Right.
and will continue to need to be for us to continue to grow and be healthy.
I might even encourage you, when you're interviewing candidates, to ask them about their own personal stewardship. It's one of those areas where it's very difficult for a pastor to lead if they are not also an example, because you feel this tension within you, like, okay, I'm asking everybody else to tithe, where am I with my own stewardship? So it's an important thing. That's your side business, isn't it? Or your... Yeah, right, you can, but we're not going to let you right now, so. But you're still with Kairos? Yeah, good. Well, that helps. Have someone else open to talk about money than just the pastor, so that's good. Okay, other things that you want to include?
I think continuous improvement.
Oh, wow. I agree.
Yeah, so like one example is we used to have 2 services on Sunday, and then we went to one at 9 o'clock, and in January we were going to 9:30. So continuously making it better for everybody.
Yeah. Continuous.
So,
I would have liked
yeah.
9:30 better, just saying, driving from Loring Park.
So, but we don't just stay like we've been.
Yeah.
We're always looking for opportunities to make things better for everybody.
So that's both continuous improvement and innovation, and willing to take some risks. I mean, that's all those things are good. Yeah. Yep. Over here.
I think being open and helping people feel comfortable about where they're at in their journey in spirituality, whether it's youth or adults, and recognizing that everybody's in a different place, and how do we meet people where they're at rather than make them feel like they should be at a certain point or they believe a certain thing at this point in their life, and that something is static and not evolving. And having teenage daughters, like, that's really important because they're growing and learning, and feeling comfortable in that is really important to help them stay here and not feeling like they should know something that they don't yet. We all feel that, but especially our youth.
Yeah. No. Pardon?
Especially the the teenagers and younger kids, where they're so uncertain in life in general. Having that comfort here is important.
There's really, I think, helpful wisdom that in the 50s through the 70s, 80s maybe, churches were like, okay, you come to our church because you believe certain things, you behave certain ways, and then you get to belong. And teenagers are like, forget that. If I don't belong from the get-go, I'm not coming back. I mean, if you don't feel this welcome. And then kids are often like, let's do Nourishing Hope. Let's do some behaving together. Let's do some real engagement in mission. And then my belief and my believing journey, I'm continuing on it. But it's not like the number one thing you have to have clear before you can enter the door. So. No, I really appreciate your comments. Others? All right. So you think your call committee has the right list of 15 things, and maybe with a little emphasis on stewardship and with a little more innovation comes out is one of these, right? The last one on the page, I think. Yeah. I think also the fact that you say you're good at dealing with conflict will inspire any candidate, because we Lutherans can't always say that. We like, especially Minnesota Lutherans, we like to repress and just be Minnesota nice. So, but you talk about your, I don't know if it's in the summary, but it's here that we've learned to use conflict constructively. And you say, a little like us. And most of us say we're more like that we perceive conflict as threatening. Can you tell me any practices that have helped you with that? Maybe you've already done it a little bit, and willingness to listen to everyone. Can you talk about a conflict that you have resolved as a community that's given you resilience for moving forward? Yeah.
The time that when Pastor Lee left there was some conflict in the congregation, and we really stood together to become the community that that we choose to be. And it really, I believe, helped us to move into that all are welcome. All are welcome here. And we want to be that open community that really allows people to be who they are. And that, and meeting people, meeting youth, and helping them to grow.
I'm glad he was not touching you like I sometimes touch my husband and say, okay, you're done. No, he was saying, I want to talk.
I did smack her a little bit the other day.
That's my turn.
You know, one of the things that I think the most about when I think of our pastor, he has impacted me in ways by making me thoughtful about things that are occurring in the world. Some people are very adamant on many sides of issues: gun control, the war in Palestine, the conflict downtown with George Floyd. Our pastor has a way of presenting these topics in a thoughtful manner, and I truly appreciate that.
Well, maybe he can do some coaching when he's done here for other
maybe
pastors.
just coach me, yes.
Because it seems sometimes you either enter into it with a strong, sense of, what's right, or you avoid it altogether. So the fact that you thoughtfully have conversation around this. Is it time for the Vikings, or? I am clueless about that, so thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
I think one of the most recent things when our previous music director was left her employment, and I was grateful that we had conversations about that and people could ask questions. Certain things were private and needed to be for HR type reasons, but I felt like there were several sessions that allowed people to communicate either their concern or whatever, and that's not an easy thing.
Right.
But I thought it was helpful and useful when that occurred, and that was, in my eyes, the most recent.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, double down on his, to me, conflict maybe isn't just internally, but we're not afraid to look at the topics of the day, and not to be told this is how you should look at it,
Right.
or to avoid it altogether, but to look at it through, you know, the Bible and God's eyes, and have an open discussion on all of those events.
Yeah, that's really good.
Now it's all been said. I guess everything that we have purposefully done in my eyes from music, communion. That was a very challenging thing for me. And I think one of the things that this place does is have an eye of curiosity. And Pastor Bruce says, through the eyes of a child.
Yep.
And that we have had such open communication of what have you done? What did you grow up with? What did we do prior to? What are other people doing? Just the openness has been huge for us. I know conflict with youth program. I had someone confront me about, well, this is how we've done it before. We should do it this way. And just being trained like this, well, why do you feel that way?
Yeah.
And not just putting up a wall,
Right.
which we often do. So I think that permeates to the congregation through that leadership.
Right. No, that's good. All right. Whew. Fun to think about who's going to be.
Can I just say one more thing? And I think we've touched on this, sorry,
That's all
a
right.
little bit, is that I think from previous churches we've been at and stuff, I think what helped with when Pastor Lee left and all, the transition to the church is getting a strong leader like Pastor, that, a leader is someone that doesn't do it all. They empower their people. And I've seen him work with our youth directors and people on committees and other things.
Yeah.
And I think this is a huge, huge thing that we're looking for at our church, because that's what Pastor has brought here. That, Pastor Lee was kind of in the middle of that maybe a little bit. And I think that we've had all these positive changes because of that. And it's super strong that he really works well, partnership with everybody, and makes people feel like they're part of it and they can make decisions and talk about these things. So I just think that's a huge, because I've been at churches before where the pastor it was his way or the highway, and that has always backfired and brought conflict into the church of things and divided. So I really think that that's been just a huge, huge point for Pastor bringing that to our church. So,
No, it's really, really critical. One of the most important things I think for a good leader is the self-awareness to know what your gifts are and what they aren't, and be always conscious about building a team and empowering a team that can do the ministry together. And the hair pastor thing is kind of arrogant, don't you think? I mean, that you as one person would have it all together. Okay, now we're going to switch gears and talk a little bit about next steps. So you've been working hard to talk about who you are and what you're looking for in your next pastor. On the other side of the conversation or the process are people who are thinking possibly about being open to this call. And there are 3 ways in which the names of people who would be open to this call are lifted up. And the first one I really want to emphasize today is that you can bring forth names to your call committee. And I want to make sure you know your job is not to reach out to all your best friends who are pastors and tell them that you want them to be considered. Your job is to give that name to the call committee. That's all you need to do. It gets kind of messy if each person in the congregation becomes kind of their own private personnel officer, and that doesn't work so well. But that said, if you have a name that you want to give, and I don't know, has there been anything shared with people about writing the name of a potential pastor on a sheet of paper and giving it to the call committee? There's a form in our website and materials that you can use that. And maybe if there's someone that you know that's retired, and you could just say, do you know of good pastors that you would recommend? Not like you're talking to the person that you would recommend, but thinking of people. My favorite story of this is in Blaine, a woman said, well, my niece is a pastor in Colorado. Should I put her name down? She did. She didn't talk to their niece. She just gave the name, and that young woman became the associate pastor at this church in Blaine. So the basic belief in my heart and spirit is that we cast the net widely. We try to cast the net widely and trust that the Holy Spirit will work in all of that. We don't try to have just a narrow list, but we try to cast the net widely. So that, we'll talk with the call committee after this meeting about that. And then a second way, interestingly, you've been on our website for several weeks as being in this process. And so pastors from our synod and around the country who are interested in coming to the Minneapolis Area Synod have been looking at that, and they've been nominating themselves. So self-nominations occur. Now, we don't send you every self-nomination because you know if you're in any kind of work like this, not every self-nomination is a good fit. But there are some that are great fits, so that's what we try to discern. And then the third way, so the first way is you can submit names to your call committee. Second way is people, individual pastors can put forth their name to the synod. And the third way is the synod, we see ourselves as doing this work all the time. It's not just when Light of Christ is needing a pastor. We are always thinking about who are the pastors we would love to get to congregations in our synod. So we already have a list that's going on when we meet as a synod staff every week. There are usually 5 of us in the room that meet every Tuesday morning, and we talk about who are pastors we could imagine being at Light of Christ. So it's a good process in trying to bring names forward. Then, when we get as many names as we can, we have this process of connecting with the candidates. And this is where it's different than, because we are church together. If I get a suggestion that a pastor, say from Colorado, would like to come and be, or that someone thinks they'd be great at this church, my job first is to call their bishop in Colorado and say, Bishop Gonya, can I talk with so-and-so about a call here in Minneapolis? And the one time he really can say no is if that person's been in the church fewer than 3 years, because you don't want to be doing this call process every 3 years if you can help it. Now, there are times where even that, Jim might say, yeah, it's okay. She's ready for something new, or he's ready for something new. So if Bishop Gonya says yes, then I call her. And I say, are you interested in this? And she says, well, give me a few days to think about it and look at the profile that's online and la, la, la. I'm just trying to tell you it takes some days. First you talk to the bishop, then you talk to the candidate, then they get back to you, and then you can bring that name. Now, all the candidates that are in our synod, I just have to talk to myself. You know, is it okay if it's okay? So that goes a lot faster. And then we try, like I said, to come with a list of candidates that we think could be a good fit here. We don't bring you every self-nominee, as I said, because there's some of those we can't imagine would be a good fit here. But we try to bring as many as we can. And then your call committee reads through their papers, which are as long as your papers are, 13 pages. And sometimes you Google them, you look at what they've done online, and then you discern how many you want to interview. You bring them in for interviews. Then you might discern how many you want to do a second interview for, or you could discern you want more candidates. Sometimes, you know, it's not the right fit, and the right fit is really important. You stand on your history of knowing how important that is. And then I really do think 2 interviews is really important, not for everyone, but for those who think of as potential finalists. I think it's also good for you to be in their context, not just watch them on a screen, but go just, I mean, imagine today my experience being here with you and what I experienced in terms of the connections and the liveliness. You just don't get that watching a preacher on a screen. And so go very discreetly, maybe not all of you at one time sitting in one pew or anything like that, but try then to experience how this person connects with the community as well as the preaching and the, and then, you know, that process takes the time it needs to take. And then you can bring a candidate to the council, and I think that's your constitution, and the council would then recommend it to the congregation. So we have to do a background check in Minnesota. Well, we get to, but we have to. In Minnesota, the statute, I think it's 604.2, is anyone who is in the role of a pastor, a therapist, or a doctor, you have to do a check of any allegations of sexual boundary violations. So we do that, and that sometimes frustrates people because it takes a little time. So if anything, yeah, the timing is what frustrates call committees probably, but you want to get all of your discernment carefully, prayerfully done. Okay, questions after that long speech? Yeah?
I have a friend who is an ELCA roster pastor currently serving in a Presbyterian church.
Yeah?
Does ELCA have any reciprocal?
Yep.
Do we expect to get any applicants from a different synod?
We don't get a lot of those. I don't know if you heard that. I'll repeat it. Is that what you said? Or okay, you all heard it. Okay, good.
I don't know if they did on.
Oh, the questioner had a friend who serves as a rostered ELCA minister, but in a Presbyterian congregation. And could we see some of that reciprocated in this process? And absolutely, we can. It doesn't happen very often in the metro area as much as in rural areas, actually. But we are in full communion with the Episcopalian Church, Presbyterian, United Church of Christ, the Moravian, the Methodist, Reformed. Yeah. So it's possible. Other questions? Yeah.
In the process of casting the wide net, is there anything creative that churches have done beyond like this, like creating a video about our church or things to try to draw a greater pool of candidates?
It's a good question. No, not that. I mean, you're drawing them to your website is actually kind of creative beyond what I've seen before in this paper. I mean, I assume they would go anyway, but you're intentional about that. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to suggest we get a personality profile of Pastor Bruce. and then we do a search for a clone of some sort.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Bruce and I, you know, we're getting older, so it's important that you probably, you'd have to have a clone that's like 10 years younger, right? Although our president is, whatever. Yeah. Oh. Any other questions? Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about this later. But
yeah.
Maybe of interest to this group is how often we should and will update the greater congregation on how things are progressing, things like that. We will be looking for guidance from you, but that might be of interest.
No, I think some regular updating, and you might want to just communicate how regular that will be. And you may not have much to say, but it is important to, say something. And so it probably once a month, once every other week. So, yeah, that's, that we've had 3 meetings, that we, you know, just more generic things. It's a really confidential process, and I want you to understand how come that's the case. Most of the people you'll be interviewing, because you're looking for someone with 10 to 15 years of experience, most of them will be serving a parish. And the last thing they need is for anyone in their congregation to hear that they are being considered for another call. Because, you know, if they're one of 5 candidates, it's a 1 in 5 chance they'll get that call, and they don't need everybody all to be, you know, wondering what's going on if they're not moving anywhere. So it's out of respect for the larger church and the other congregations. Good. Anything else? Well, really good conversation. It's fun to be in a congregation that's happy with where things are. I mean, not all the time will the pastor who's currently the pastor stay, because they're not sure what might be said. No, I'm just kidding. But it's just really fun to see the good things that are happening. And praise God that I was driving out here, it didn't occur to me till this morning that the fact that we have technology that we have and the pandemic making us realize we can work remotely. I mean, communities like Delano are just probably going to really grow, because you might have to go into the cities twice a week, 3 times a week. I mean, my daughter's headquarters for her job is New York City right now, because it's a different world. And so to see, like you say, all these houses growing, and also I grew up in a small town. I love being in a community, and so I can't wait to see how this congregation continues to be the welcoming place for all those that are coming new to this area. All right, let's pray, and then we'll stick around with the call committee. Is that right? Okay. Oh, good and gracious God, thank you for the light of Christ that shines brightly in this community of faith. Thank you for Pastor Bruce's ministry, for all of the ways your Holy Spirit has been at work in this congregation through its almost 40-year history. Thank you for all the leaders you have called to be on transition team, on council, on call committee. We pray for your spirits